Hey guys, welcome to Heart Academy for February 13th, 2017. And let's see, what time is it? 9:28 in the morning. So you guys are in period 2. And I decided to go ahead and do a Heart Academy for tonight's homework because we've gone into the fraction zone. The scary, scary, scary fraction zone. Not so much for you though, Olivia, is it? Okay. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate problems that are on your homework page. These are going to probably be the same problems that we do in class. At least now you have a reference on how to do these problems, okay? So again, Heart Academy, 7th graders, February 13th, 2017. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Also my wedding anniversary. Hi, honey. And let's see, we are going to start with adding fractions. And we're going to start with simple unlike fractions, all right? Now, in class, I've demonstrated 4 or 5 steps. I've demonstrated on how to do these in a manner that I like to do them, which makes them easier for me, which I'm hoping it makes it easier for you. All right, so I'm going to look at the first one. You want to make sure you have plenty of scrap paper also, okay? Because not all of these problems will fit on the side of the paper that you have over here. Mine will, though, because I can erase easily because it's computerized. I have 9 over 22 plus 3 over 11. First thing I like to do is set them up vertically. Why do I do this? Because when we have unlike fractions, remember unlike means they do not have the same bottom number. Before we can add them, we must change them into fractions that do have the same bottom number, which are called like fractions. And so for me to do that, I do a conversion that looks like this. Conversion means change them. Okay? Now my job is to find a bottom number that both of these will go into, also known as the lowest common denominator. What that means is, what is the smallest number that both of these will go into? I'll tell you what, sometimes I hear a lot mistakes. Students will say, oh, I know, 2 is the smallest number they will both go into. And that's incorrect, because if you say that, what you're trying to tell me is that 22 will fit in a 2, or 11 will fit in a 2. That does not work. Or even if you say something like, oh, it's got to be 10. I know it's got to be 10. Again, that's not going to work. 22 will not fit in 10. 11 will not fit in the 10. Okay? So to save you some heartache from that, I have a system that I like to use that will help you get the correct answer every single time, and that's simply by using your multiplication chart. Okay? So remember, our 2 bottom numbers we're looking at are 22 and 11. If you use your multiplication chart, okay, go to row with 22 and 11. Scroll down some so you can see 22 and 11. There's my row of 11. There's my row of 22. Now, looking across these 2 rows, what is the first number they have in common? Look across this way and look across this way. If you will notice real quickly, the first number they have in common is 22. So that, my friends, is going to be used as my bottom number. Okay? Easy way of figuring out what your common denominator is going to be, especially if you're not familiar with your multiplication facts. Okay? So now I just realized that my bottom number is going to be 22. There you go. Okay, so what do we do after here? Well, we need to figure out how to get the new top number. To do that, we do 2 things. The first thing we do is divide the denominators. 22 divided by 22. 22 divided by 22. How many times will 22 go into itself? 1. Take that answer, multiply it with the numerator. 9 times 1 is 9. Hey, notice how that fraction didn't change? That's quite common and typical when we start with easier fractions. Yes, these are easier fractions, okay? So let's do the same method down here. Again, we will divide the denominators, okay? 11 will go into 22 how many times? 11 will go into 22 how many times? Okay? So if you're saying 11 times, 10 times, I don't know how many times you're saying right now. And if you're not sure, remember, you can always use your multiplication chart to help you out for answers that you might not know. 11 will go into 22 how many times? 10. Okay? So, the answer's not 10. Clear that out and get my face out the way. There you go. 11, 22, 2 times. There it is. Okay? So, Again, using a multiplication chart as a resource to help you with all of these. Okay, so we know now that's going to be 2 times, right? So 11 will go into 22 2 times. And then remember, you need to multiply it, that answer, with the numerator. So 11 will go into 22 2 times, multiply it with the numerator that's already there. 3 times 2 is 6. Now that you have done that, all you have to do is add the 2 top numbers that you have, which is a 9 and a 6. Okay? Because they already have the same bottom number now. 9 plus 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay? So I have 15. That bottom number stays the same. Your last final step will see if you can reduce any of these. Okay? I have a 15 and a 22. Will 15 and 22 reduce? I'm pretty bad with my facts, so I know that I can use my multiplication chart to figure this out. I'm going to look in the row that has a 15 and a 22 in it. Let's see if I can find one. Remember, when doing this, we never look at the first row, because the first row will give you all the answers that you need, therefore it doesn't count, because everything's multiplied by 1. I'm looking for a 15 and a 22. This row doesn't have a 15. Here's a 15, but no 22. No 22 or 15. Here's a 15, no 22. No 15, no 15, no 15, no 15. Nope, 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 nope. Kind of skimming around for a 15 and a 22. I found a 15, no 22. Found a 22, no 15. Guess what, my friends? This one is not going to reduce, so my final answer will stay as 15 over 22. Let's go over here to number 2. All right, number 2, remember, write it vertically. Find the lowest common denominator. If you're not sure what it is, use a multiplication chart. So now I know I'm going in the row of 2 and, I'm going in the row of 12 and 4. All right, here's my 4, here's my 12. I will go across those rows until I come into the number in which they both match. I can tell already 12 is the first number that they have in common. That'll work, okay? So that tells me my new denominator will be 12 for both of them. And then we do the multiplication, the division first, then multiplication. Divide the denominators. 12 will go into 12. How many times? 1. Take that answer, multiply it with the top number. 2 times 1 is 2. Same thing down here. 4 will go into 12 3 times. Take that, multiply it with the top number. 2 times 3, 6. I can now add my numerators. 6 plus 2 is 8. Keep that same denominator, 12. Now I need to check to see if these will reduce. I have an 8 over 12. Now you know I'm really bad with my facts, but I do know these are both even numbers. And if I have 2 even numbers, I know that they can reduce. So I'm going to check my chart. Okay, so now I'm looking for the row that has the 8 and a 12 in it. Remember, without using this first row, the 1's row, looking for, oh, here's one, an 8 and a 12. Let's check to see if there's any more rows with 8 and 12s. Like we practiced last time, there might be more than one. Here's, oh, look at that. It's looking right at me. An 8 and a 12. So now I know that 8 will change to a 2, that 12 will change into a 3. And I don't think there's any more rows with an 8 and a 12. So here we go. An 8, 12. Final answer here, 2/3. Okay, same, 2/3, 8 and the 12. So that's a quick and easy way to reduce, especially if you're not familiar with your multiplication chart. And that is okay. Okay, so far we have questions 1 and 2. Let's see if I can get 3 in here. Question number 3. First, write vertically, which would be 4, that's 4, don't y'all make fun of my handwriting, 6 plus 3, 18. Okay. Again, You can use the multiplication chart to figure out what is going to be the lowest common denominator for each number. What is the smallest number basically that will go into 6 and 18? Okay, let's take a look. First thing I'm going to do is circle my 6 and 18 row. Here's a 6 row. Here's an 18 row. And then I'll go across until I find something that matches. Right there, wasn't it? 18. It's going to be the lowest common denominator for those two. So that means I will use 18 for my new denominator. Now remember, the next step is to divide and multiply. Divide the denominators. 6 will go to 18. How many times? That should be 3. Take that answer, multiply it with the numerator. 4 times 3, that's 12. Again, divide. 18 will go to 18. How many times? That's 1. And multiply with the numerator. 3 times 1, that's 3. Now we just add the new numerators. 12 plus 3, that's 15. Then keep the same denominator, 18. Now I think we looked for this before in the multiplication chart. So we know that, actually we didn't, because I can tell already these are going to reduce. Do you know how? This was, I know my 3's. Let me show you what I know. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Remember, I'm looking for a 15 and an 18 in the same row, right? Excluding this first row. Long story short, I know it's going to be in the 3's. 15 and 18. Because I already knew that the number 15 and 18 can be divided by the number 3. So my reduced answer should be 5 over 6. 5 over 6 as the final answer for that one. Doing the reducing thing with the multiplication chart or starting to memorize when things will reduce takes a little bit of time, but the more you get familiarized with your multiplication chart, you'll start to see patterns. So don't worry if you have to use the multiplication chart to learn the reducing, or if you missed one of the reducings because you may not have realized that a set was in more than one row, as we talked about in class. Okay? Alright, let's see. I've got a few more minutes left on this video, so we'll try the next one. And number 4, I have 2 4s plus 6 over 8. Here we go. Alright, so now, you know what? I'm starting to get used to this and just seeing a little bit of pattern, and I know that both of these are divisible by 8. So I'm going to choose 8. If you're not sure how I got 8, go ahead, check that multiplication chart. Look in the 4 row. Look in the 8 row. See that? I knew that was going to happen. So that's how I already knew. Again, practice, practice, practice. Then you start memorizing things. So what I'm going to do now, divide and multiply. 4 will go into 8, or 8 divided by 4 is 2. Take that number, multiply it with the top. 2 times 2 is 4. 8 will go into itself one time. Take that, multiply it with the top. 6 times 1 is 6. Now I get to add. This is going to give me 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 over 8. Okay? Now, 2 things going on with this, isn't it? 1, it's top heavy, which means it's improper. We normally don't like to keep our fractions improper. And 2, I know it can reduce because they're both even numbers. First, let me do the reducing thing. Look for the row that has a 10 and an 8 in it. I'm going to look for the row, remember skipping that first row, that has a 10 and an 8 in it. It's right here. Okay? So I know the 8 will change into a 4, the 10 will change into a 5. And as you can see, still top heavy. This is the part where you have to divide if it's top heavy. What I mean by divide is simply do this. Okay? 4 will go to 5 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. And with this, you now have everything you need to make a mixed number. That becomes that, and that becomes, looks almost like a football play. That, 1 1/4, your final answer. I'll go through that one in class just to be sure. Alright, this is where I'm going to cut it short because my video is almost done. And I will see you in class. Try the rest of the page for homework. See you tomorrow.